Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to head a little bit north for this review once again to Dalarna county, and we're going to have a look at another beer from a brewery that I have been quite impressed with in the past, and these guys are in the west of the county. So for this review then we are going to go to the small town of Sälens, which is of course home to Sälens Fjällbryggeri, or Sälens Mountain Brewery if you want to translate it into English. So this beer comes from their limited edition series. It is number 9 and it's simply called Dubbel IPA, or Dubbel IPA as the Swedes would call it. But yeah, this one comes in at 8.5% ABV and it's hopped with Pearl from Germany, which is a lovely, slightly stronger alpha acid noble hop, and also Citra and Mosaic from America, which we know quite well. Citra for its big kind of mangoey notes, and then Mosaic for its more kind of tangerine orangey type flavours. So yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. This is the first straight up IPA that I'm trying from these guys. The other beers that I've had from them in the past, the most recent one was the Fjällpilsen, which was a really nice Czech style lager beer. Before that it was a red IPA, and then I think the very first one that I tried from them a good while back was a white IPA. But yeah, this is a brewer that I like to keep an eye out for in the locale Småskalig. I've been impressed with the quality of the beers that I've had from them so far, and yeah, as I say, Dalarna County is home to a good number of breweries these days, notably Uppigårds Brewery. They're probably the best known brewery from Dalarna at the moment, but there's lots of other little breweries there that are putting their beers out nationwide, which is great. So yeah, interested to do review number 4. This is the first straight up IPA that I've had from these guys, and this beer was released as part of the Lokal Småskalig assortment for September of 2020. So yeah, really curious to see how this turns out, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. Fingers crossed it's another good beer from Sälens Fjällbryggeri. So for this review then, as always, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Sälens Fjällbryggeri. You will see more reviews from these guys in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Sälens Fjällbryggeri then, so on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you already, this brewery is based in the small town of Sälen in Dalarna County, and it's over in the west of the county, very close to the Norwegian border actually, and quite a famous town for its skiing apparently. But this brewery was founded back in 2012 by Pelle Hoffman and Magnus Engström, who together own the Gustav Grill and Bar restaurant in Lindvallen in the town. So they also own the Hemfjällstugan and Fjällbägaren restaurants as well, so they have got a fairly big pedigree actually in the whole restaurant business. But Pelle had been homebrewing for a number of years, and he'd actually won a few competitions, and he then decided that he wanted to sell the beers in their restaurant, which went down very well with the customers. And initially they were producing only very small 50-litre batches, and so they were very prolific in producing a lot of different beers. But the positive reaction they got from this was really what kind of prompted them to kind of scale it up and get their beers into Systembolaget and put them out nationwide. So they started off with a capacity of around 200 litres per brew when they did that, when they scaled up. But they've now moved on into a new premises in Lindvallen, where they have a 2,000 litre brew kit which came from the Czech Republic, and this gives them an annual output of around 250,000 litres, and they've got plans to expand this further with more fermentation tanks and things like that as well. So yeah, these guys, they are, you know, a decent sized brewery these days. They've been around for quite a wee while actually, but as of September 2020, when I'm producing this review for you, they've produced in the region of 100 different kinds of beer, and they now have this limited series as well, where they're releasing various different things. I think actually this might be the first one of the limited series to have been released in Systembolaget, at least nationwide. There might have been other ones that have been released very locally, but yeah, this is the first one I've seen come through the Lokal Småskalig that has been one of the limited series. I could be wrong on that, and if you are watching from up there in Sälen and you know a bit more, let me know about that in the comment section below. But it's certainly the first one that I've seen from the limited series. But yeah, as I say, these guys, I've been impressed with the quality of the beers that I've had from them before, and I've had a fair variety of different styles, a white IPA, a red IPA, and then a lager beer so far. I think the next one that I really need to try from them would be a stout or something like that. I need to have a look on Systembolaget and see what they have in terms of dark beers. But yeah, as I say, a brewery that I keep an eye out for. If you get the chance to try some of their beers, I don't think you'll be disappointed with these ones. I think you will quite enjoy them. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Sälens Fjällbryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. My first straight up IPA from these guys. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open it up. There you can see at the top there is the Sälens Fjällbryggeri symbol, if you like, but it's a bit different of course, because usually here it would say, I think it would usually say Sälens, but this one, as I say, it says limited because it is one of the limited series. But yeah, the artwork is a little bit plainer on this one than the other ones. You can see they do have their own bottle caps as well, which is pretty cool. And yeah, very curious about this. I think this is a bottle conditioned beer because there is a wee bit of sediment floating around in this one. But you can see with this beer, it says on the side here, Sälens Fjällbryggeri ett litet bryggeri som beläget på Lindvallen i Sälen. So this is a brewery that is based, or is located in Lindvallen i Sälen. Begrundades 2012 och har våra rötter i hembryggartraditionen. So yeah, we were founded in 2012 and have our roots in the home brewing tradition. Limited är en serie öl som bryggs i begränsad upplaga, kanske bara en gång. So this is the Limited is a series of beers that is brewed with limited production, I guess you could say, upplaga. I think, yeah, production. And this is sometimes only one time. So Dubbel IPA är den 9:e ölen i serien. This is the 9th beer in the series. So yeah, 8.5% double IPA with this one. You can see it's sweating because of this lovely warm summer we're having. Well, it's still September and it's still warm, but the lovely kind of warm summer here in Sweden. But yeah, let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting then. An 8.5% double IPA, this one. Yeah, there is a wee teeny bit of sediment at the bottom of this one. Maybe my fridge is a bit too cold, but yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on it with the tasting then. Curious to see what this beer has in store for us. This beer, as I said, was released on the 1st of September 2020 as part of the Lokal Småskaligt assortment in Systembolaget. And yeah, as I say, I like to keep an eye out for the different things that these guys are releasing. So yeah, let's have a look at this and see how we get on. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from this beer, pardon me, it's poured a lovely kind of medium amber colour, this one. It kind of looks as if it's almost a cross between a New England and a West Coaster actually. I'm not sure what this one's going to be. But yeah, as you can see, it's poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of creamy coloured head on this one. I don't think that's perfect white. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, and as you can see, the beer does have a level of haze to it. If I put the beer through the light, yeah, this is quite a dark, it's leaning towards that kind of dark, richer amber end of the spectrum actually. So yeah, should be interesting this. Let's have a little look at the aroma then and see how we got on. Nothing overly surprising about the appearance of this beer when you consider what style it is. Oh yeah, it smells a bit classic this actually. The Citra and Mosaic's quite a well-known hop combination, and when you get a beer that has this in it, then it's always just quite interesting. But yeah, there's something kind of there's almost something a little bit like marmalade-y and jammy about this beer as well. You'll notice that the fruits come across as very wet almost when you go into it, and this beer, it does have a bit of a leafy kind of thing going on too. Yeah. Yeah, so straight away with this beer, it comes across as almost quite wet, I would say. Strange it is to say that. Yeah, it's got a quite leafy, fruity, almost jammy type character to it. That's an interesting point to make about the aroma. But yeah, on the malty side of things, you can smell a little bit of that kind of bready base to the beer. It's got a lovely bit of a kind of brown brown bready bread and butter type thing that comes out of it. But yeah, a little bit of a brown bready quality there. Nice little bit of a, there is a bit of sweet caramel to this one. You will get a few biscuity elements as well, but the biscuity notes, that sort of McVitie's digestive kind of thing, comes across as quite oily. It actually reminds me, the aroma of this beer reminds me of bread and butter pudding. I don't know how common that is in Sweden, but it really reminds me of a bit of bread and butter pudding. Yeah. It's really quite buttery, this one. It's almost got a little bit of a Werther's Originally type aroma to it as well. So yeah, the malt base in this one is quite interesting. It comes across as a little bit boozy as well. You can smell a little bit of the alcohol coming out of this one, and it mixes in with that kind of brown sugary note that I was talking about. Yeah, that's interesting. The aroma of this one, I think, is quite interesting to me. The way that this beer goes together, it almost strikes me as, it reminds me actually of a few of the kind of early home brews that my landlord and I brewed together. It does have a little bit of that vibe to it, which is kind of interesting. I do wonder what yeast they've used in this. There's something familiar about this. Could this be like Cefal, or could it be the Cefal or the US-05 that they've used in this? There is just something really familiar about the yeast, some of the yeasty notes that come out of this beer. It's interesting, that, definitely. But yeah, as I say, the malt is quite nice and smooth and bready. You do get a nice little bit of a kind of biscuity caramelly note out of it, as I say, and you get a little bit of the booziness from this. At 8.5%, you would kind of expect that. I think this one, let me just see, I think this is going to be a New England. It doesn't actually say if it's got rye in it, this one. So yeah, corn malt, wheat malt and rye malt. So yeah, maybe that's kind of why it smells a little bit more sort of brown bready. I was wondering, I thought there was wheat in this one. I didn't think there was oats. But yeah, you definitely, the rye, seeing that there's rye malt in this one makes sense, because it does have a bit more of that kind of brown bready type quality to it. So yeah, it's nice actually. I do like that. That would explain the colour of this one as well, actually. But yeah, the aroma of that malt base is quite nice. It comes across as quite a bready, a nice kind of bready based IPA, this one. So yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of things, then I like the kind of the green side of the hops in this one. It's got that lovely bit of kind of smooth earthiness that comes out of it. It's got a little bit of that how do you say, It's just got a bit of that kind of smooth German noble quality to it. You can get some of the nice kind of floral grassy notes in there as well, and it just kind of goes together so well. I love the noble hops. I really love those. And Pearl, I think it's just a slightly stronger version of the Hallertau and the Tettnangers. So you really get a lovely light earthiness to this one. Nice bit of bright floral aromaticity and some smooth grassiness there. The noble hops are always very kind of smooth in the green side of things. But yeah, on the fruity side of the beer, this one is quite interesting as well. So yeah, you do get a nice little bit. You do get the kind of the sort of tangerine oranges from the Mosaic straight away. I think the Mosaic takes the lead over the Citra in this one, and you can see actually on the text on the label there, the Mosaic is the biggest word. So I do wonder if that's just in terms of volume of hops. So maybe the Mosaic has been added as the very late addition hop, but I think Citra would probably be added as the late addition. The Pearl will be added in the early point of the brew to give the beer the bitterness and things like this. But yeah, it smells really nice. There is just something very, very familiar about the aroma of this beer. It really is quite nostalgic in a way. But the Citra, I think, you do get a little bit of mango out of this one, and you do pick up a few other notes in there. There is a wee bit of a gooseberry lychee type thing in this beer as well, which is quite interesting. I've not had those notes from Citra in quite a wee while, but I think hops behave differently depending on what malt base you mix them with, and I think Citra, when you put it in with kind of rye or a more kind of west coasty malt base, it does come across as a lot more oily than it does in the New England IPAs. So yeah, I'm curious to see. This one seems as if it's more like a kind of rye double IPA, to be honest with you. But yeah, I love the kind of breadiness that this beer has. It's got a bit of German quality to it. because of the kind of pearl noble hops that it has. It's got some lovely big kind of brown breadiness to it, a little touch of graininess, good bit of sweetness, and the fruits come across as quite nice and oily in this one. But really, yeah, more tangerine and orangey, but you get a wee bit of an oily mango out of this one, and you get some kind of sort of gooseberry lychee type notes in there as well. There's maybe a wee touch of a very small touch of a lemony zest on the very kind of front of the nose as well. But take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of this one, and just and see that before you try it. But I'm really curious to see what this one's like now. The aroma is very nostalgic but also very nice. So yeah, this one is the limited number 9, the Dubbel IPA or Dubbel IPA from Sälens Fjällbryggeri in the west of Dalarna here in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slanche skål. Oh yeah, it's actually quite a juicy. I find that quite juicy rather than anything else. Yeah, I mean, this one for me, one of the themes that I've really found with this brewery is their beers come across as very clean, and I think it's just probably the quality of the water that they have up there in Dalarna. You do find this, to be honest, generally with Scandinavian beers, because it's very mountainous regions. Even you do notice even a difference between when you try some of the beers from South Sweden and some of the beers from more northern places as well. You do notice that there's even more of a kind of pronounced quality there. But the thing you'll always find, I think, with Scandinavian beers, the Finnish and the Finnish and the Icelandic ones to a degree as well. Maybe we can say Nordic beers rather than Scandinavian beers, but you'll always find that these beers come across as very, very clean a lot of the time. And this one, these guys, I have to say, probably there's a few breweries that I could point to in Sweden and say that you'll get a really, really clean feeling beer from them, but Sälens have to be one of the bigger ones in terms of how clean the beer feels. I mean, the brewery in Åre, I forget exactly, Åre Brygg Kompagniet, I think they're called, if I'm remembering the exact name right. Their beers also come across as very clean like this as well. But yeah, the thing you'll always get with these beers, you get a really unique mouthfeel to them because of the water. I'm certain it's because of the local water that they have, and I like that about these beers. And yeah, I like how this I like how everything kind of goes together in this one. This is a really quite soft and just very drinkable double IPA. It's kind of dangerously drinkable for the alcohol content that it is. But yeah, this gets a thumbs up from me. I certainly like this one. It's got a really good balance to it actually. I think this one it's a more malty leaning. It's a more malty leaning double IPA for sure. I think that's fair to say. The most of the complexity you get out of this beer is in the malty side of it, and I like that. I do like how that goes. So yeah, let's try and break that down a little bit then. Straight away with this beer, you can feel that nice kind of bready quality just blanketing the middle of your tongue. As you go towards the back third of your tongue, I think you get a little bit more of the rye. You get a bit more of that kind of rye, brown bready base to the beer. There's a bit of a kind of, there is a little bit of, how do you say, there is a little bit of more of a kind of white bready note sitting on top of it actually, and you can feel a few of the grainy notes just pushing their way out as you go further into the aftertaste. But as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, underneath that you do get a nice little bit of a bit more of that graininess there. You can feel in the middle of your palate there is just a little touch more of the rye graininess coming out of the beer. But yeah, you can feel on top of that rye graininess, I think the wheat does smoothen things out a little bit, but the middle third of your palate feels distinctly a bit lighter than the back third of your tongue. But on top of that, you do start to get some nice kind of brown sugary notes out of the beer. There is a wee bit of a caramel, a straight up caramel in the middle of the palate, and as you move further out from the centre of your palate, it does get a little bit more kind of biscuity, I think, and a little bit more almost like, it feels almost a little bit buttery in some ways actually, and I like that about this beer. I really like that about how this one goes together. So yeah, the malt base, the way the sweetness comes out in this, it just really strikes a chord with me. The Scottish sweet tooth, I guess you could say. So I really like how this one goes together. Actually, it's really it is really pretty damn nicely done. It's just the malt. I just like the malty character in this one. I really think it is a more malt driven double IPA in my mind, and I really like how that side of it goes together. So quite an oily malt base in this one, but the cleanliness of the water really makes it feel almost very slick. I think that's an interesting point to make about it. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate you do get a little bit of that quite smooth German noble earthiness out of the beer. As you come further forward, there's a wee bit of herbal quality there initially, but then as you reach the kind of front corners of the palate, it's definitely a bit brighter and a bit more floral. Round the very front curve of the tongue, the beer is just a little bit lighter and grassier in its composition. But yeah, it's I think that's one of the other things that's really striking me about this beer as well, is I love the German noble hop base. It's a bit nostalgic for me as well, because I really got into beer when I was living in Heidelberg in Germany, and it was I love the noble hops as a result of that. But yeah, the sort of bitter side of this beer, this one isn't the most bitter of IPAs that you're going to come across. It's definitely more kind of New England in that sense, if you like. It's more like the malty composition is a bit more West Coasty, but the actual bitterness and fruity side of the beer, I think, is a little bit more leaning towards the New England side of things. So stylistically, I think it's probably fair to describe this one either as a rye IPA or as more of a kind of hybrid IPA. It's probably it's got a bit of a rye IPA character, it's got a bit of West Coast, and it has a bit of New England all in one. So this one, I don't know where you could put it on the scale, but it's nice, and that's the main thing. It doesn't matter what style of beer it is, it's more about whether it's a good beer, and I think this is pretty solid in my mind. But yeah, the fruity side of things then. So, as I always tell you, fruity side of the beer is that front third of the tongue where those nice little juicy esters just roll their way out of the beer. So, if we go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a little touch of you do get a wee bit of a darker passion fruit then, but very quickly it evolves to a bit more of a kind of oily mango flavour, and as you move further forward from that, you can feel that it sort of changes to be a more oily kind of tangerine note. So you can feel, I think that the sort of tangerine oranges do spread they do spread quite a bit far back on that front third of your palate there. I do think this beer does lean towards the orangey side of things, and that suits the rye. I always enjoyed a rye IPA that was kind of orangey leaning. Amarillo works beautifully in rye IPAs. It's a hop that you don't see used all that often anymore, sadly. Amarillo was a beautiful hop back in the day, but yeah, Mosaic, in terms of the orangey kind of flavours, Mosaic has certainly taken the mantle over from Amarillo. But Citra seems to have kind of been a bit of a mainstay, and Simcoe is making a bit of a return, so maybe Amarillo will come back a little bit later. But yeah, this one for me, the fruits are leaning more towards that kind of tangerine orangey note, and it's quite a bright orange, but at the same time it does have a bit of an oily character to it, which is nice. So yeah. So yeah, the fruity side of this beer, I think, is pretty nice, quite oily actually, and I like that about it. So yeah, oily mangoes, a little bit of darker passion fruit at the back, oily mangoes moving forward, and then the mainstay of the fruits would be that would have to be the kind of more tangerine orangey side of things. On the very kind of front edge of the tongue, there is a wee bit of a zesty quality to the beer, but that's quite minimal compared to other things. But yeah, I think that covers the flavour profile of this beer really quite nicely. I find this one, it's quite a malt driven IPA, but the fruits are nice and oily, and it's got a lovely German noble backbone to it. I think that's a fair kind of description of this one. In terms of the mouthfeel then, like I say, this beer comes across as very, very nice and very, very clean. I would describe it as being fairly mid-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth. In my mind, it does have a good degree of oily character to it, but as I say, very, very smooth and very, very clean in a lot of its mouthfeel. But yeah, you get a really nice, you do get a good, nice hoppy character out of this one. I would say it's about 30 IBUs. This beer is by no means going to blow the head off you in terms of bitterness. It is a kind of New England level of bitterness you get out of this one. The malt base, like I say, it's got a wee bit of graininess, and that comes out a bit further on, but it's got a nice degree of oily sweetness to it as well. And then you've got a good kind of oily, fruity character as well to this one, which I think works very, very nicely. So yeah, take a little bit of time and just enjoy this beer. I think this one is quite nice. It would be quite cool to see them do this as a regular beer. I think overall, I would say this leans a little bit more towards the rye side of things. I would be tempted to call this a rye IPA. Maybe a New England rye IPA is probably the best descriptor for this one. I think that's probably the best style bracket to put it into. And you do get a few. If I remember right, there are quite a few of the American, the New England-based New England IPA breweries that use a bit of rye in the beer, and I think it works very, very well. So yeah, I think this one is more of a rye IPA. I would say I think this one might have been the better name for this. A better name might have been a Dubbel rye IPA, Dubbel Rogue IPA, something like that. I think that probably would have been the best name for this one. But yeah, lovely, lovely beer. This one, I have enjoyed this, and I look forward to trying a few more beers from this limited series. I think I need to take a look and see if they've got any stouts or anything like that, because I've not had a dark beer from these guys yet. But yeah, the white IPA, the red IPA, the lager that I had, and now this one, I have been impressed with these guys. So yeah, lovely to. This is what I say, you can find some real gems at the small breweries in Sweden. So you know, shop around, try things from different breweries. That's what I would always recommend when it comes to Sweden, because the home brewing scene here has been so strong for a long time because of how strict the alcohol laws are. You will get breweries like this that are, you know, pretty much kind of almost in the middle of nowhere that are producing really nice beers. You get that throughout the whole country. There's about 600 breweries in Sweden these days, and there's some real gems out there to be had. So yeah, check out this brewery for sure. I've enjoyed reviewing another beer from these guys, so let's leave it at that. Yeah, this one was the limited number 9. The Dubbel IPA, 8.5% ABV from Sälens Fjällbryggeri in the west of Dalarna, kind of to the northwest of Stockholm, I guess you could say, in Dalarna county here in Sweden. Really enjoyed this one. I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on this beer. This one has been really nice to review. Quite an orangey leaning rye double IPA in my mind. So yeah, worth checking out if you get the chance. But yeah, thanks again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Sälens Fjällbryggeri as well. We will definitely return to these guys at some point in the fairly near future. And yeah, try a few different beers from them. Make sure you try some of the more rural breweries in Sweden, because there are some gems out there to be had. Check out my social media. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Slanju, skål. Make sure you check out Sälens Fjällbryggeri in Dalarna county here in Sweden. Cheers.